Like me, you've probably had more time for reading over the last 11 months. You can't go out and about so easily, you can't visit, can't drive far, can only shop for essentials, and the rules keep changing anyway. A book is safe. You can lose yourself in a good plot, escape into another realm entirely. I like to read in bed, last thing at night. If you're around my age or older, you probably remember the actor Rupert Davis, most famous for playing Maigret in the 60s. Penguin are currently reprinting the entire Maigret series of novels, 75 of them. I must be approaching around the 20+ mark. There's something comfortably solid and reliable in Simenon's creation. Paris-dwelling, pipe-smoking, down-to-earth Maigret understands people, their failings, their foibles, the life events that turned them into petty criminals, and the temptations that led some to major crime and the amassing of an ill-gotten fortune. And when he interviews a suspect, there's often a point when they're pinned down by an inconsistency in the story. Where were you this time last week? Or this Sunday a year ago? Well, I know where I was a year ago. I was here, or if not exactly here on Zoom, at Langside Church, preaching on temptation on the first Sunday in Lent. Linda Watt spoke last week about a list that she and David have compiled of those participating in worship over the next weeks and months. I like to imagine they came to this Sunday, the first Sunday in Lent, and they thought, who can we pencil in for this one? I know, David Chinn. We hear he's been tempted a lot this past year. Let's give him a try again. I jest, of course. It's the situation every parish minister is in all the time. It's Christmas, Remembrance Sunday, Easter, Lent. What can I bring to my thinking this year that is new, relevant to the situation we're living through, true to the message of the kingdom? Somehow a light-hearted opening featuring giving up chocolate for Lent just didn't seem appropriate this year. We've all given up so much and so many everyday things over the last 11 months. We have all been tempted in so many ways to bend the rules just a little. We found ourselves involuntarily in lonely places, in desert places of the soul, forced to undertake that longest of solitary journeys, the journey inwards. Our reading today was from the shortest Gospel, Mark. Things happen quickly, suddenly in Mark. Baptism, desert temptations, the beginning of ministry, and the preaching of the good news, all within 15 verses. No specific temptations are mentioned. No stones into bread, no testing of God from the temple high point, no offer of the kingdoms of the world in exchange for worshipping Satan. I identify more with the very sparseness of Mark's temptation account. He stayed for 40 days being tempted by Satan. Wild animals were there also, but angels came and helped him. We can fill in the gaps in a personal way. I know what my temptations are, only too well. You know yours. The places, thoughts, situations, words and actions that we should steer clear of, but find ourselves drawn to again and again. I had an old aunt. She died in her upper 90s a few years ago. All her life she had a phobia about mice. As a young schoolgirl, she'd to walk to school along a narrow lane. One day, she found a dead mouse. Instead of changing her route in the days that followed, she returned again and again in a combination of horror and fascination, unable to break the spell. That's how it is with us sometimes. We return again and again to that which has power over us. We can't resist. It tempts us, draws us back to a place of compromise and danger. That's the desert experience, the aloneness of the struggle. One of my interests is creative writing. If you haven't got your copy of Words from Battlefield, edited by Linda Jackson and published by Finn's Place, it's not too late. Contact Ruth. This poem is by one of the writers featured in that collection. With the permission of Laura McCall, I'd like to read you this, one woman's poetic exploration of the temptations inherent in our current situation. It's called External Bliss. We move closer. No words are needed. A pandemic is in full flow and we could pass the virus on, but still we intertwine in full view of a nation of enforced non-huggers. Your warmth radiates through your thick woolen coat. Its wooden buttons press into me, holding in any misgivings. We stand as one, masks confiscated in our pockets, our breaths mingling, hearts in unison, my friend and I hugging each other, hugging life. Lorna was very keen to let you know that she is not advocating disobeying sensible and necessary social distancing, but it was how she felt when she wrote the poem. Who can say honestly that they haven't been tempted to do the same? How should we mark Lent this year? A year unlike any other we've experienced. The current moderator, Dr. Martin Fair, suggests that rather than denying ourselves, giving something up, the I'm not going to eat chocolate vow, we might consider taking something up, a positive if you like, Make Lent a time of contemplation and reflection as we ease towards a gradual restoring of social interactions again. Make no mistake, we have been changed by the experience of the past months. What have we learned about ourselves, our interdependence, our need for warm human contact? What can we resolve to do better, make better, protest against and change? How can we be better when what we used to call normality returns? I started with Maigret. Let me end with him too. In the About the Author page, at the start of every Maigret novel, Georges Simenon writes this about himself. My motto, to the extent that I have one, has been noted often enough, and I've conformed to it. It's the one I've given to old Maigret, who resembles me in certain points. Understand and judge not. Jesus is changed by his 40-day wilderness experience. He emerges from this time of trial and temptation, sure of the course he must take, ready to begin his public ministry, ready to preach the good news. He understands human temptation and judges not, but stands alongside us still, despite all our imperfections, all our failures. Understand and judge not. Not a bad thought to hang on to as we journey together through Lent and towards Easter. Thanks be to God.